Well, Eric, getting things kicked off here this week is that, it's really starting to feel like winter, especially for many folks up in the upper parts of the U.S. and with a lot of the cold and the snow. As we're kind of continuing to monitor the precipitation weather patterns, are we kind of going to be expecting a little bit of the same for what we have seen over the past week or so, or could there be a little bit of a change here moving forward?
I mean, the pattern is stuck. It's not, and it's going to be stuck for a little while longer. If you look at this satellite image, this is from this morning here on Monday. You can see the snow underneath the clouds. It's kind of nice to see. Good blanket here in the Midwest. To be honest, I wish it would warm up a ton and melt it all, and we could get into the soil. We're still pretty dry. We had some good rains across the southeast, and we have another week of what's called the Tule fog. This is in the Central Valley of California. I mean, there's some folks in the Central Valley of California that have not seen the sun in 10 days. It's been so foggy in that particular area. But the last week brought rains to one of our driest spots in the country, and they're going to need more of that rain. And what you've gotten through here was largely just some additional snow. Over the weekend, I had some spots in the Dakotas, getting into southern Minnesota, a big chunk of Iowa, close to I-80 here, that picked up another 4 to 6 inches, some places a little bit more than that. And that's what's got us some pretty decent snow so far this year. If you're curious, take a look at this. This region in through here, all right now, if we kind of include some of the Great Lakes as well, that whole swath is between some places, I mean, Iowa, 10 to 20 inches of additional snowfall compared to average. So that's it's been pretty healthy. We've been getting quite a bit of snow in this area. We need more of it in the west. We got to pack up this region so that so that the Rockies will melt, giving us good flow into the Colorado River Basin, and the west needs quite a bit more snow out of this as well. Now, the Northwest right now is under flood watches. We've got incredibly powerful winds ripping through the northern plains the next 2 days, and we're going to watch a system come out that's going to give us winter weather issues up here in northern Red River Valley, but northern Minnesota, Wisconsin as well. And there's also a winter storm issue going on in parts of Virginia too. But take a look at this flow coming into the west. Look at this guy right here. That is a very energetic part of the jet stream, and it is just slamming into the northwest. And winds tomorrow look something like this. No, excuse me. Winds later today look something like this, just slamming into the country. And we're expecting, look at these wind gusts. This is just through Wednesday into Thursday. We're going to have winds in the Columbia Basin, then coming off the Rockies here in Montana into the Dakotas and in Nebraska at 50 to 60, maybe some gusts over 70. We may get gusts up over 50 in Iowa as well. So very, very windy conditions coming through with this current setup. Now, total precipitation, there's a lot of blank space on this map, right? You can see the flow entering the northwest. It's then creating these little clippers that just follow this track. And there's a big chunk of the country that's going to be getting just a big fat zero in terms of precipitation for the next 7 days. Our snow is going to follow the colder side of that. So big snows for the northern Rockies, and this snow swath coming out of the Canadian prairie, hitting parts of Montana, then going right here through this corridor. We might add a little bit more to the Appalachian Mountains, some to the northeast, but there's a lot of folks that are too dry in this pattern. I do want to show you the near term because there's one thing I'm concerned about. You got snow moving through the upper Midwest today. Now it's this system right here. On my map, those pinks are ice, and there look like to be some icing conditions in parts of the Dakotas, Minnesota, and that could get into Iowa, eastern Iowa, southern Minnesota as we get into the day tomorrow. And that little system moves right on through the Great Lakes and leaves. It's what comes in behind it that I think we should talk about, right? So here you go. Big ridge dominating the pattern. There it is. And the question is, what's going to run over the top of that ridge before it finally breaks down? Now, I'm going to talk about when I think it's going to break down first, because the breakdown, I know I don't show these diagrams a whole lot, but if we look out into the future, it seems like after the 15th, that's here, all the way through Christmas, we're going to reorient this pattern and get rid of that ridge. So keep that in the back of your mind. Remember, that's 2 weeks away that we think this might happen, but it's down the line. We should think about it. So in the meantime, just watch the animation. Pick your model and just watch. You can see that everything's flown over that ridge. Little systems sneak through, but there's no real big storm system coming across the country because the flow's out of the northwest and not the southwest. So the probability of getting another 3 inches of snow is shown here. You can find that big corridor. It's pretty easy to identify. 6 inches, yeah, there's even a swathing through there. This really got some chances for some heavy snow in the next 7 or 8 days. But it's the precipitation that's got me concerned. I mean, all the way out to next Thursday, Everywhere that you see these darkest reds, these are areas that we expect to get less than a half of an inch of total liquid equivalent. That's a really, really large spot of the plains. It's very, very dry. I'll be honest with you, they've been talking to a lot of farmers and they don't want, they're like, hey, we bring in the snowpack before you bring in the cold. Bring something in here. We don't want to get this dry going into winter because it's hard to break a drought in winter in this area. So does that help? Does the jet stream help at all out there? Remember, I told you, watch the 15th. By the 15th, 16th, 17th, there's a trough that comes through here. And some of our models are trying to beef up the precipitation in this area, although right now it's still drier than average. But I'm just telling you, keep an eye on it once you get out there to the 16th or the 22nd for possibly getting some storm systems to come through the midsection of the country. So I'm watching that carefully, but in the meantime, it's not what you want if you're in the plains. You're very, very dry right now. It's been cold too since Thanksgiving. I mean, there's one corner of northwest or northeast Arkansas that's had its coldest such stretch of days on record. The records go back to 1893. So if you look at every time period and every previous year from November 27th to December 7th, this is now the new coldest. And we know we're going to continue to have access to that cold air, but it's where it's located. Already today, look at the massive warm up that's happened in parts of the plains. I mean, temperatures 20 to 30 degrees warmer than they were yesterday. And watch where the cold air goes. So big time warm up for overnight lows and daytime highs. In fact, Tuesday into Wednesday, we might see, especially on, let's go look at it real quick. Let's see. This is Tuesday's highs. Look at that. And if you do hit 42, melt that snow, man. Melt it. We need every bit of it. Because what follows this is Wednesday into Thursday, your temperatures are going to be struggling in Iowa to get out of the teens. By Friday morning, you have a massive Arctic blast coming through. So Iowa, Des Moines 14, Mitchell 0, Fargo, Grand Forks -3. Those are highs. And that cold air just sinks across the midsection of the country. So plenty of access to cold air, wild ride on the temperatures overall. And by the way, those minimum temperatures are ridiculous. Let me show you what things look like by the time we get into, there's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Look at these temperatures. -15. I mean, -18 in Grand Forks. That's some pretty cold air early that morning. But as we look out there and try to see where this is all going, let's just watch an animation every 5 days, just sliding through. This is day 5 through 10. Now look at this, day 10 through 15. See that warmth beginning to start to show back up? That's what I want to watch out for. It's leading up to Christmas. If we could reorient this and dip a little bit more cold air in here, the jet will turn around and open things up in a big way. But that's, like I told you at the beginning, we're stuck until we get way past the midway point of this month. So don't anticipate anything other than this between now and the next, let's call it December 15th.
Yeah, so I mean, let's keep building on that because last week I remember you talking about how, the front half of December could look way different than the back half of December. Yeah. And it sounds like you're still alluding to that possibility heading into our long range discussion for even this week, and just continuing to build upon the fact that we need to get a lot of snowpack for many areas before the spring comes.
Well, there's some complicating factors with that, but I'm still in that camp. But look at this. This is the polar vortex. It's right there over Russia. We noticed that during the month of December, it's already in one of its weakest states we've ever measured, and it continues to the middle of the month to show us a split view. So that's what's going to anchor a lot of this cold air hitting the same spots over and over again with time. But you asked the bigger question. What about mid-December to mid-January? And if you look at this map from the newest one from the European, see how more of California is getting wetter? The more of California getting wetter, the better the jet is getting farther to the south. And that's why we see a reduction here of the dry conditions. Meaning that starting maybe the week leading up to to Christmas and then beyond, I think the atmosphere is going to be on steroids and just go and really go. We're going to still have access to cold air, but my goodness, it could really get moving. Now, here's something kind of fun to think about. The MJO is in phase 8. Phase 8 is a rare phase in December. Only about 8% of the time during the month of December does the MJO ever come over to phase 8. But we have to care about phase 8 of the MJO because when it does it, this whole quadrant of the U.S. tends to get into a lot of colder air. And some of the years where the MJO was just dominant into phase 8 were these years. Now, I know you're going, wait a minute, that color doesn't look that bad. Oh, no, look. This is temperature anomalies, 12 degrees colder than average for the whole month of December in 89 and 91. The previous map, I only made the color bar go to -3. See the difference here? We could be getting ourselves into a situation like that that completely flips in January. Those years where the MGO spent time in phase eight, the Januaries went over mild. Now, mild for January, still frozen, but not Arctic. Does that make sense? And one year in particular is sticking out to me. It's this year 2018. So the year 17 into 18. And the reason why I'm thinking about it is this. Let me just show you the map first. January to March of 2018, we set up a very active corridor here with wet conditions and also right in through there. So you kind of see two different areas. I'm putting arrows over them. That particular time period, December 17 through March 18, started off with a La Nina that by March was beginning to fade and then by June was gone. Okay, so it's gone. I bring that up because that's very similar to what we're getting right now in our long range analysis. The La Nina is fading through March and then gone by summer. In fact, 50% of the ensemble members from the European model are projecting that by June, we will be in El Nino conditions. And what's interesting about that is this is the January, February, March forecast from the European model. Now, if all of that was confusing, you're like, well, okay, you lost me. What I'm trying to show you is this, where did I put it? Right there it is. That is the January to March 2018 look. Look at it now, okay? Look how similar it looks to the January to March 2026. There seems to be some parallels with 2017 into 2018. That's the case I'm trying to make. If you beg me for an analog year, this is the one I'm going for. But overall, this is only a risk factor if you're in Southern California or the Southwest and maybe this part of the Cotton Belt and the Southeast. Everywhere else, going to have one of those rockin' winters that is going to be pretty chaotic. And we tend to do okay after winters that are chaotic like that.
I mean, even though we're looking out that far in advance too, which is again just a long range look, but at the same time, it just seems like there's going to be some sort of access to moisture for a lot of those areas then as a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, I would expect our drought monitor is sitting at about 67% coverage right now. That includes all drought categories. So from abnormally dry to exceptional. I would expect that number to be down below 40% by the time we get into the beginning of April with this pattern, which is good.
Yeah, something for positive news here for looking out further in advance. Moving on, looking at South America though too, what do you got for an update down there? As it seems like, they've had a little bit of better access to moisture for a lot of areas, which I know previous discussions, even though they've been, below average for a lot of their precipitation, we haven't seen a lot of stress, but it seems like they're getting a little bit better access down there again as well.
Yeah, they are. And you're right. So you got to understand when you look at a map like this and you see that they've only got 50% or so of their precipitation, 25 to 50, they can still grow a big crop on half rain. So we can't forget that. And if you look, watch this animation, see if I can get this to restart. What did we see over the last few days? Moisture coming into that region. Watch right here. Coming off the Andes Mountains, look at all that rain. We see really good low pressure development in southern Brazil. And as a result, watch what the models are projecting. One low pressure system hits the dry region now through the end of this week. Now, watch Friday, Saturday, Sunday, another front goes right over the top of it. So, long story short, over the next 7 days, the precipitation anomalies in that really dry area of northern Argentina and the southern Cerrado are expected to be wet. I mean, that's like us getting that timely June rain, if you will, and it's going to buy time. So there's not going to be a, bullish weather market story coming out of South America based on that forecast, in my opinion.
Yeah, and definitely what might be having markets taking a note here this morning as well for a few factors. Going to be watching a lot of that moving forward, especially here in the U.S. Hopefully, even with this latest Arctic blast that people are going to expected to experience, everybody stays safe through that. And we're going to be looking for your insights here moving forward. So thank you again for this week, Eric.
Yeah, you bet.